There we go.
Okay.
Because when old people can't hear, they can't see, they can't do none of the things when they turn my age.
Look, but not you having a blankie. My blankie is right behind me.
When I tell you it is cold in this house, I don't know what is happening,
Yes,
but
it
man.
is cold.
So, welcome to
Man.
Pop Your Shit.
I've been waiting for this moment. I love your lives. Like y'all be so lit on here.
You know what? I try and make it a safe space. It's me and you talking. It don't matter who in the comments,
Yep.
but if you'd like to see what's in the comments,
Yep.
you can. So, it's up to you.
Yep. Well, you do a
Well,
good
this,
job.
let me introduce you. Y'all, if y'all don't know this lady, this is the beautiful, this is the editor. I mean, we got a few editors running around here, but this is an editor, Khloe Cain.
Yes. Yes. Hey,
Ma'am,
girl.
first of all,
Thanks for having me.
you are more than welcome. You are more than welcome. So, we've been conversing because you were a little nervous, just a little bit.
Yes.
And I kept saying, it's
You
just me. I
right
don't
now.
know why. Maybe because we on live or whatever, but it's just me. I'm just Nicole. I don't be trying to put on airs. I don't have time. I'm too old.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm too old for that. Um anyway, so you have been editing for how long?
Ooh. I have been editing since I started my business in 2013.
Okay.
I started in 2013, yep.
Is it okay to say who
So
your first client was?
my first client, I worked with Ashley Antoinette and her
Okay.
husband, Jaquavis Coleman.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yep, that
And
was
you
my
have bloomed from there.
first. I have like the feedback that they gave me from my like because I was shooting my shot with a lot of different people, and the feedback that I received from them, I'm like, oh, I might have something here. So now I kept just shooting my shot, and then gradually I built myself into the Khloe starts editing. So that's how I got my start. Somebody took a chance on me.
I'm just looking for our questions because I thought I had them up and then my phone said, no, ma'am, you don't. Um,
Oh, it's okay. Well, I said, or no.
no, so I mean, it's basically the same type of question. So, what made you jump into editing?
Well, I've always had like a passion for the whole English thing, and in school, I always excelled with anything with writing papers. My peers come to me to check their papers. And before I started like my business, I was like an avid reader of like urban lit. Like that's all I would read. Anything gritty and grimy, I was reading it. But once I grew up and became an adult, the eras made me stop reading the books.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when I started just like, okay, this is something that I can do for a living. It started out as a side hustle, but then it became like a business for me. Like it became a passion for me. So yeah.
Okay, so just for the people in the back who may not know, authors in the back who are new to this, what type of editing is there? What are the different types of editing?
So there are three stages to the editing process. So there's developmental, where you look at the big picture. So I'm looking at your plot structure, the entire storyline, your character arcs. Are they making sense? Are the characters blending in together? Are they different? And then there's the line editing, where it looks at your story or your manuscript, like line by line, every single sentence, to make sure that your sentences are clear and concise. So
Okay.
if you write some foolery, I'm gonna comment on it and give you a suggestion on how to make the sentence more clear.
Okay.
And then there's a copy editing that looks at just like the grammatical errors. So should it be a comma here? Should it be a question mark? Are they spelling out the numbers correctly? Things like that. And
Okay.
then people think that proofreading is editing, but is really it is. It's a part of it, but I don't consider it the three main stages.
Okay. Okay.
That's just
Uh, I'm sorry. No, I just got two messages, and one of them was my dad. Sorry. Uh, so when he
You
calls, I'd be
don't do
like,
that
listen, because
now.
he don't
Pops come calling.
listen. So
Don't do
listen,
that.
Mister Man, that man they call my daddy is spoiled. Very, very,
Mine is
very, very spoiled, and he feel like everybody's supposed to drop what they doing. It don't work that way. So I see my son responded. So
and should look and should because I'm a daddy's girl, so I'm dropping everything and running to my daddy.
okay, so but do you have a specific genre that you edit? Do you edit across the board with everybody to include the other side? Or do you just edit just for us because you understand what we are probably saying?
I edit all genres, whether it's fiction, it's nonfiction. I've edited people that were in Canada, the UK. I've had Caucasian authors. Like I edit everything. And if I'm not able to, or I feel like for instance, like a mystery story, I haven't really done any editing within that genre, but all you gotta do is read and research. And I have people that I can talk to and ask questions to
Mm-hmm.
guide me along the way. But I don't turn down. It's I think my first time turning down a project was recently, and
Really?
that's because and that's because it was a guy, a male, trying to tell a story in a woman's perspective, and I'm like, I'm not with this. This no, we can't do this. Mm-mm.
But when a man okay, so is it hard to edit for men authors?
No, it's very easy because I've had plenty of them, but I just didn't like that it was a male trying to talk from a women's perspective. I couldn't get with that. And when I got his synopsis, I'm just like, I knew I couldn't take that project on. Like it would have been too much on me. So I
Mhm.
had that was my very first time saying I cannot accept this project.
Really? Was that like, whew, I dodged the bullet, or was it like, damn it, should I have
I
done it?
felt yeah, I no, I felt like I dodged. I felt like I did what was right. I let the universe guide me, and I gave myself a week. Like even doing the sample edit, I gave myself some time, and I'm going through it. I'm like, this, it isn't for me. Like this isn't what I'm supposed to be working on. And I
Okay.
haven't heard from him since I sent that email back. I haven't heard from him, but he was emailing me like crazy before that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is what it is. So, you know your limitations.
Yeah,
So,
I can.
do you feel like editors have the right to say no?
Yeah, we do. Because what a lot of authors don't know is I know editors that will only edit like a romance genre. So, like the rules for doing the romance versus a urban fiction book, the rules are different, like completely different. So you may have an editor that only specializes in romance and you're sending them an urban fiction book. You don't want them touching your book if they have like no experience and no desire to edit that type of genre. So I mean, it could be a good rejection and it could be a bad rejection.
What should an author? What type of? Okay, this wasn't in the question. Sorry.
It's
What type?
okay.
What type of inquiry should an author make when searching for an editor? What should they be asking the editor to make sure that you guys are a good fit?
They should make sure that they specialize in the type of editing that they need. So I know editors that only do developmental. They don't touch the line in the copy edit. So make sure that if you need a full edit, you're going to someone that specializes in all stages of editing. You want to, if it's an urban fiction book, you want to make sure like they understand our lingo because not everybody get how we talk and they try to talk like us, but not everybody can do that. So you want to
Right.
make sure that they specialize in that genre and that they are available to you. I'm not saying for you to call them all times of the day, but you want to make sure y'all have that relationship to where your communication is open and you're not just only communicating when it's time to return the edits.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And make sure
Um,
y'all vibe out. Like it's nothing worse than working with a person that I can't feel their vibes. It's really hard. Like it's hard. So that's why I have consultations.
so when you do consultations,
Mhm.
what type of information is given during the consultation, just so that they can know. I'm not listen. I like to write, but I'm not a writer. I'm not an author.
Mhm.
So we'll see about that. But what should a person expect during a consultation? What should they be prepared to do?
Well, with me, I like to know their background. So, is this your first book, your second book? Have you ever worked with an editor before? I like to know what what do they expect from me? Do you want me to just email you, or do you want me to call you, text you? Like, how are we gonna communicate? Um, and I think it's important to ask the question of if they specialize in the genre that you're writing. Like that should be the number one question. And what type of editing do they offer? Like
Okay.
that's like the main like I believe that's on my little list. I have like a 2-page questionnaire that I go through when I'm having these consultations. I ask them what are they struggling with during their writing journey. What do you need from me as your editor? What do you need?
Okay. When you after you have the consultation, you've agreed to that. How long does the editing process take normally?
So I always like to say it depends on what type of editing we're doing. If we're doing a full edit on a 80K word count book, that could take us up to 3 months because we have 3 rounds of edits that we have to go through. If it's a 20K book and we're just doing a copy edit with a proofread, we can have that wrapped up in about a month, if
Okay.
that. So it just depends on the word count and what they're having done.
You and I.
Because you may like the method portion is very intense. So it's a
Right.
lot of rewriting and moving stuff around. So that can take the author a month to do alone.
But when the author does that, I mean, that's something they should expect when dealing with an editor, correct?
When you're dealing with a professional editor, that's what they should expect. And I let them know during that consultation, like, hey, look, I put you on deadlines. I make sure I know. Like some people, they don't have a deadline for when they want to publish, and some people do. So if you come to me in January and you want to publish by March, I may not be the person for you because it's going to take longer than 2 months to get that out, and then I'm booking into April, well, really into May. So I can't even take you until May.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. So when a person is writing, they should expect that their book is not going to release within the next week unless they just release.
I wouldn't even want to work with an editor that can tell me that my book will be done in 2 or 3 weeks because that means that they're rushing through that process and they're not looking at that manuscript so it's polished and it sounds right. That sounds to me like they just did a proofread and said, here you go. But the storyline doesn't make no type of sense. It's error free, but that storyline's jacked up. Like we don't, I don't do that. I take my time.
Okay, let's shift it just a little bit. Quick question. With all the piracy things that are going on now, people are uploading books, does that affect editors or does that upset you? How do you feel about like people taking other people's work and
I just
repackaging it?
found out about that, and it's crazy because one of the authors that I've worked with was affected by that. And can I cuss?
Yeah.
That's some bullshit to me. Like to take somebody else's words and turn them into yours and narrate them as yours, like that's just it's like you don't have nothing else to do. And
Right.
that's a huge copyright issue as well. Like you're risking it all just for some social media fame. Mm-mm. Like I don't like that. Just like I don't like the Facebook editors, the ones that claim that that's what they do, but they're not they're still taking payment via PayPal. Like, no, it's very offensive. It's very offensive.
Uh, what is the most challenging part about being an editor, and then what is the most rewarding part about being an editor?
Hmm. I would have to say the most challenging part is I don't know. I don't. So the most rewarding part I can say is when the author learns something through the editing process. A lot of people don't realize my method of editing. I try to make them a stronger writer, and sometimes it pans out well. And when they don't take that advice, that's probably the hardest part. Like if there's a scene that just doesn't make sense or doesn't move the story forward, and I'm like, hey, look, this not making sense. You might want to remove it for these reasons, and they keep it. I'm curious as to what their reviews are going to say because it's like, why is the scene here? Or if the dialogue is dragging on, and I point that out, but they want to keep it, it's like you might lose some readers because this is boring. This part of your story is boring. So remove it, and they don't.
Do you go into reviews of books?
So I used to. When I first started, I used to. And boy, oh my God. Woo! That's actually how I became better at my craft. And it let me know that I needed to learn more about the process before I called myself a professional. Because I used to be all up and through the reviews, and I'm not perfect. I still had errors in books. I mean, this is 10, 11 years ago, but like now I don't really look at the reviews unless the author posts them. Then I'm like, oh, good. But no.
Uh, it's interesting to me when you have a know-it-all author, and I'm not saying anybody's a know-it-all author here, but they do their own self-edits and the book flops, and it's because there's plot holes and the timeline is not matching, the characters
Nope.
don't have any, they're not being distinguished. What's your point? What's your stance on self-editing?
It's funny because I had someone go into my comments, I think it was on TikTok, and pretty much said that I was forcing authors into hiring a professional editor, and that sometimes the New York Times best-selling authors books have errors in it, and you have the indie authors that don't have any errors in it. It's like, okay, so what if you don't have any errors in it, but what is your plot hitting for? What is your character arc hitting for? Does any of your dialogue move the narrative forward? Like, these are things that people forget. That's why I say there's a difference between the developmental, the line, the copy edit versus a proofread. Because a proofread not looking for the storyline, character arc. We just making sure there aren't any errors in the book. So I tell people don't self edit because you're too close to the book. So there are things that you may see or you know it's there, it's repetitive, but you want to keep it, and you're too close to the story. Let it go. Let it go. Because I may spot something that you didn't even realize was there.
Are
So
there any misconceptions about editors?
yes,
What are
they
they?
think that we make the book. Like people think that we make the book. It's like, hold on, sis, hold on, bro. We do not make your book. You are the artist of your own masterpiece. We're just here to polish it up and refine it for you. So I tell authors all the time, like, I'm not a writer. I'm an editor, but I'm not a writer. I know about writing, but I cannot write. So no, like, like they think we are the artists of their book. It's like, no, we're not.
Yeah. You don't have any desires to write a book?
I
Or
do.
have you written books?
I've actually started. It's a nonfiction book. I don't know how much I can really say about it, but I'm partnering with another editor to write a book about editing. So that's in the works. I've written my part of it, and it's so funny because the way I write, it's like I'm talking, like it's how I talk. So I'm like, maybe it'll be relatable and people will like it, but we're gonna hire a different editor to go through it, and that's when I'll know if I'm smooth as a writer or if I need to just hang it up.
So editors need editors.
Oh yeah, because like I said, when you're the author of the story, you're too close to it. So there may be things that I've written in this book that's repetitive, that doesn't make sense, um, and I need a fresh pair of eyes to tell me, you said this like 7 times, or you said this 7 times just in a different way. So almost definitely, and they're going to do a full edit on it. I need the top to bottom.
What?
I mean, because I'll be contradicting myself if I tell authors you shouldn't self edit, but then I just did a whole book and I edited myself. Like, that's contradicting what I believe in. So I'm handing it off to somebody else.
I didn't know. I didn't know the
It's going to
things
be
you learned.
interesting to hear someone else's feedback about my writing. So I'm kind of excited.
Do you still have time to read, or is editing taking over life?
So what I found, and I figured this out last year, I have to make time to read for leisure. So what I do is I keep my Kindle fully charged on the side of my bed, and when I'm laying down, that's how I decompress. So I try to read at least a chapter or two. I don't know, like every night. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But I try to read. I'm kind of out the loop of like what's hot and what's not. So I just go through like my Kindle Unlimited list and just download stuff and uh,
Do
but
you
I
find
try
yourself editing while you read?
that'd be the struggle. Like, this comma missing, or this sentence is too long, or the plot not plotting, or why is this dialogue so long? So sometimes it's kind of hard.
Okay, so I was listening to someone speak about dialogue tags, and I'm sorry, this may not be part of it, but how can an author improve their dialogue tags without always saying he said, she said? How does it? How can you distinguish who's who in the narrative without always implying that it's a male or a female?
So that comes with developing your characters, because if I'm talking and let's say one of my sisters, because we are all polar ass opposites, if you develop that character well enough, you will know who the sassy one is, who the quiet one is, who the shy one is. Like, you'll know. But I always tell people, if it's two or more people in that dialogue, you have to use the dialogue tag sparingly, so we know, like, okay, this person is talking, or throw in an action beat or something. Maybe a person talk like me and they talk with their hands. Throw in that action beat to let them know who's speaking. But if it's just two people, you don't have to use a dialogue tag after every statement. It's daunting, is what it is.
Right, right, right. What's the most important part of the editing process?
Mm, for a first time author, I would say, you mean like what type of editing to get? Or I would say for a first time author, develop, like, get a full edit, because you want to see your strengths and your weaknesses. And then from there, you can develop your second or your third or your fourth book. If you are a vet in the game, a line copy with a proofread, because sometimes the sentence structures can be jacked up and you're so close to it, you don't even realize how jacked up you're talking. So your readers won't know what you're trying to say.
I get that. I get that. I get that. Um, how do you define success, and do you feel like you're successful in this editing business?
I feel like I'm successful because and for me this year my definition of success is to be booked throughout the year before June. So I want to be fully booked. Like I want to say booking for 2026 very soon. I haven't reached it, but I'm booking into May. So I celebrate the small strides that I'm trying to get into December. Um but a lot of people find out about me through word of mouth. And that's amazing because that means people, I'm in somebody's ear and they're throwing my name out there. So that's kind of major in the writing world.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
That's
mm-hmm.
major.
I found out from you, you started doing some edits, some editing videos, and you are so funny to me.
Thank you. Look, I was scared of TikTok for so long. And then I'm like, you know what? There's another side of me. I'm professional when I'm doing your edits, but like I'm still human. And I wanted people to see the other side of who Khloe really is. Like I'm not all uptight like this. Like, no, like we about to joke around here.
I'll be over there cackling just by my feet. I was like, here she go.
That's me. Yes. Like y'all gotta see the other side of me. Like I am still human. I still have a personality that you need to see. Like I even comment on manuscripts, like I'll make a serious comment about like a sentence structure or a choice of word, but in the next chapter, it may be like, girl, I know you lying. I know you fucking lying. Like, we're gonna joke around here.
That is hilarious. So now that you have explained why we have edits and what the misconceptions are, how do you balance it all? How do you balance your home life with work life?
So I'm gonna be honest, it's not that balanced. I'm a workaholic. So when my kids are not here, like if it's dad's weekend, I'm in my office that whole weekend working. Like it take my girls to like pull me out of my office and to get out there and go have some drinks or go have dinner because I always it's a passion for me. And that's what they don't understand. Like, I'd rather read this book and edit it. So I'm gonna stay home tonight, y'all. But I haven't found that balance. And sometimes I get burned out from it to where I won't even open up a manuscript for like a week because I'm just like my brain isn't there because I've overworked it so much. Then that's when I get out the house and and right now in Michigan it's freezing cold, it's snowing, so I just be in the house.
What part of Michigan?
I'm from Detroit, but I live in the suburbs.
I got family in Detroit. I got a
Yes.
lot of listen. I got a lot of them. Woo, they out there. Actually, I'll be there next summer, 26. I'll be there in Detroit.
We should link up.
Absolutely, I'll be there for probably. We have a family reunion there, but we should be there. I should be there maybe about a week. So
I love Michigan in the summertime, especially Detroit, because we be outside. Like that's when I'm outside the most.
Listen, they talking about well, they got to be at Belle Isle at this time, and what if they late? And this, I was like, first of all, what?
It's gonna be y'all gonna be at Belle Isle. That's gonna be lit.
That's what I heard.
That's gonna be lit. That's gonna be lit. I'm coming. I want one of the cousins.
And more than welcome to come. That's the funny part. They embrace everybody. They are about batshit ass crazy like me. So
pulling that. That's funny. I love it.
But now that so my goal for you, my wish for you is to balance it a little bit better. I need you to have a life. I was just told that yesterday. Yeah. I need you to have a life because I would be like, I don't want to. I'm going to sit over in this corner at this, like I'm going to a birthday party. I know my phone will be charged.
You'll be reading. You'll be reading. See there?
I don't karaoke. I listen.
Oh, have a drink.
And will. And read.
While you read your book.
Yesterday was the first time I didn't read while I was out, only because it was a book club. I started
Mhm.
a physical book club. I'm from Oakland,
Okay,
California.
Cali,
So
Cali.
I started a book club, a physical book club, and it was about 10 of us.
Hmm.
And even though we were talking about a book, I didn't stop and be like, let me read it. I actually stayed the course. Then when I
Yeah,
got home, I had to read just a little bit.
I know. Yeah, I want to join a book club so bad. I have an associate from college. She has a book club, and it's so funny because I'll see her posting what books she reading. So I'm like, "Oh, this is crack! This is crack! 5-star read, 5-star read." And she was like, "How would you know?" I'm like, "I read it. It might have taken me about a week or two, but I do read. Like, I mean, I'm just a slow reader because I have other things to do."
I
But
wish I could read more of what not what I want, because this podcast has taken over.
mhm. Look, I'll be watching. I'm like, she always live. Like, damn.
It's taken over.
You be on
And
this.
now,
No, I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad
so
at it.
now that I have started a management PR company for
Mm-hmm.
independent authors and content creators, um,
Mm,
I don't know.
you.
I, I mean, I think I'll be fine. I keep sliding down my seat. I don't know what the hell is going on with my chair. I keep sliding. I don't know what. It'll be fine. I just have to put my all into it, and we'll see what's going to happen, because I just feel like the government is going to try and
Mm,
just take it
listen.
all away from us. Like they want us dumb and stupid.
Nope. You got to manifest what it is you want. You have to manifest that shit. You have to write about it. You have to do affirmations for it, and you have to believe in that this is going. It will work out for you. And the universe, it hears us.
It
Whatever
does,
the
and
universe.
it's hearing me. I'm not saying that it's not. It's
Yeah.
hearing me. I am manifesting. All I'm saying is it came fast.
Mm-hmm.
Like
That's
whoosh.
good.
It came fast, and um it will be, it's gonna be fine, but it's a little daunting. Just, you know how you start a new job and it's a
Yeah.
little daunting,
Yeah.
and then once you get in there, you be like, okay, I got this.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's like.
You just got to find your ebb and flow of it.
Yes.
And then once you get into the ebb and flow, you're
Yes.
gonna be like me, a damn workaholic. You know,
And
always
I
be
am
on.
that already. So my father called and he said yesterday, he goes, hey, Nicole, I got a question. I said, I got an answer. That's I said, I got an answer. He goes, I hope so. And I goes, oh, what's up? And he goes, I used to talk to you a little bit more than what I do. What's going on? I said, Dad, you know I'm starting a business. Well, is it making any money? I said, not yet. I have to put the structure together and it will make money. He goes, I said, you know how politics is politicking and trying to keep this alive. I feel like it's my duty to do something about it if I'm going to complain about it.
Yep.
He said, you act just like your mama. I've been trying to fix stuff.
That's what I do.
He goes, but now that I know what's going on, I'll excuse it.
Turn into a passion.
Listen,
Look.
sir, with your
That was
spoiled ass.
me. That was me with the editing. Like, it was like, how can I fix this? Because I'm tired of us having these great, I mean, it would be great books. Like, I can see where the plot was going. I saw all of that, but I couldn't get past the errors. So it's like, literally, how, and I hate using that word, how can I help? What can I do to help?
Right.
And when
Instead of
I,
complaining about it, how can we fix it?
yeah, and instead of complaining about it or keep putting books on the back burner, like, I just come back to it, I just started shooting my shot, like, free sample edit. I mean, we talking, when I first started, I was doing all stages of editing. We're talking on 80K word count books for like $200. Nothing you get from me today starts at 200 nothing because I had to learn. Like I had to learn the craft. I had to get books. It was certs, a lot of YouTube, and it was a lot of research that I had to do because I'm just like I knew I was working a lot for what I was getting paid for. And once I realized and started researching other editors and finding out what they were charged, I'm just like, So I had to get my portfolio together and I upped them rates. And I was afraid of that. I'm like, I'm going to lose the people, the brown people that I need. Like I'm trying to help us out. But no, it was like they came with me.
How do you what advice would you give other editors to charge their worth?
Make sure you're good before you start charging your worth. Like you can't have as a manuscript and you're charging $1,000 for a line in a copy edit, but it's still errors in the book. It's still sentences that don't make sense. The author is if if the author is serious enough about their craft, they're going to still go back through their manuscript after the edit is completed.
Right.
So if they're still finding things and you're getting that feedback, you can't charge a worth of $1,000 if they're still finding errors in their book.
Right.
It's not fair. It's not fair. So make
That
sure you
is
have the
the
people
gift.
that notch under your belt before you start taxing people.
But that is the problem, and that's the gift, because I have a few author friends who have paid big money,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah, and that sucks. But I feel like everybody has to start somewhere, but don't be out here jacking people for their money and you know you're not where you need to be as an editor. Like just be honest about it. Like I was really honest when I first started, like, this is something I'm starting out doing, blah, 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 blah. Can I do the sample edit for you? Then it turned into me actually doing edits. And like I said in the beginning, still had errors in books. I did. But then as I, got better and better and better, then I was able to hire a proofreader because my eyes that looked at your manuscript like 4 times, I can't look at it no more. So I'm gonna hand it off to somebody else that can get out all the rest of the little errors that I probably miss a comma. I hand that off. Like,
I do have a question. How, I mean, like I have a bunch of questions, but this just popped in my head. How do you deal with, okay, so California slang is different from Chicago slang, different from Southern slang, different from New York slang. How do you address those issues? How does that whole process work?
so if I have a questionnaire that I give the authors before I start their project, or I ask them, is there anything that I need to know about the way you write? That's the easiest way for me to know. I mean, and then I know how the West Coast is. I know about the Midwest, of course, because I'm a D girl, and I know about the South because I have family in the South. So sometimes they can get away with it with me knowing, and then sometimes it's like, nope, you need to tell me what this means, and I'll comment on the side like, what does this mean? I don't take it out of their book. I barely take anything out. Like I always suggest or just ask, like, does this need to be here? Like, what are we talking about here? And then they'll comment back like, this is blah 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 blah. Like, okay, keep it.
Now, because I know like a lot of people confuse Southern California from Northern California. Not that we are too different, but the slang is different. So they'll be like, okay, if you're Northern California, they'd be like, well, where are you from? I'm from the town. What is the town? The town is Oakland. The city is San Francisco. So instead of saying I'm from Oakland, they'd be like, oh, I'm from the town. Or they'd be like, oh, where you going to the city?
Oh my God, I'm confused right now.
But that's
Watch y'all slang.
California slang. Their favorite word is hella. Everything is hella this, hella that. It's if you're not saying hella in Northern California, it's you're not really from here. Because if you're not using hella, And then
Yeah.
they have adopted the E40 way of speaking. So where are you from? The Yay. What is the Yay? The Yay is the Bay Area.
Yes, I had it right. I'm like, is that the Bay? And then, but music helps a lot. Like I listen to Kendrick Lamar, so it's just different. Like even New York slang. You know
Right.
when it's somebody from New York or New Jersey, like I kind of know how they talk. You know, from Michigan or Detroit specifically, you may hear a "What up, though?" Like that's us saying, "Hey, how are you?"
Exactly.
So you just got to be in the knowing. But if I'm ever unsure, I always just ask the question of what's the setting of this book. Like give me a little background here. So if it's in California and it's something weird with slang, I know it's Cali slang, so I'll let you be. But if I'm not for sure, I'm putting that question like, what is this?
Like
what
I even get confused. So I was like, okay, there's a difference between smacking and something else. Listen, music slaps. It slaps and smacks. Music
Mhm.
slaps, but food smacks.
Oh wow. I thought they
I
both said.
wouldn't use it because I'm confused myself. And I'm
I thought they both slapped because
That's
here
listen,
is.
but if you listening to my kids or you
Mhm.
listening to my sister
Mhm.
and they talking, I be like, I didn't understand none of that whole conversation. Speak
Oh,
English to
I
me.
done lost me.
But again, that is Bay Area lingo. So when people are speaking, do you try and get them from that, or do you prefer that they use that in the dialogue tag? I mean, the dialogue, so then that way they know who's talking.
So a lot of times, if it's an urban fiction book, if it's any genre, it doesn't even matter. The slang of wherever state, city, it should be in the dialogue. It should not go in the narrative. So if I catch it, I will advise them to remove it. But it's always up to the author if that's what they want to do. But you can show that in the dialogue. I feel like it's best that way because that's giving the character their character and what's so special about them with the slang.
Okay, so with that, what is the genre that you prefer to edit in? Is there a preference? As far as like urban literature, or do you prefer to just whatever?
So it's kind of whatever to me. But I notice when I do fantasy or a romance book, I'm all in. Like, because I like to read that. Like, outside of editing, those are my go to genres to read, is either romance or fantasy. But honestly, I really don't have a preference. Like, I mean, I edit nonfiction books. So,
Is there a different, like with fantasy and paranormal, it's world building.
mhm.
Um, does it ever get boring for you when you're editing like something maybe like urban fiction because you that's what you normally read, or
Because urban fiction is still good to me. I still, although, so what I've noticed is the longer I've been in the game, the less urban fiction I'm seeing. And I think it's because they're doing self editing or they're going to Pookie in them that's going to scam them out of their money to have their books edited. So I've noticed a decline in my urban authors, which is it makes me sad sometimes because that's why I started. I started because I saw that my people needed me with these urban books. And then once them rates went up, some of them came with me, some of them went to traditional publishing, um, and they tried to bring me to whoever they went with. But even with publishing companies, you have to be careful. So I'm just like, no, like I can't do it. Mm-mm.
let me change the subject for just a minute. So I was talking to, I don't know if you know who Jacquel J is, the Delgados.
I'm seeing this on TikTok a lot. I'm seeing it on Book Talk. It's
Listen,
good.
he got us all in a chokehold. Listen, I didn't already claim the book boyfriend, a book
Ooh.
husband. Call him what you want. I know I probably y'all know I'm a book Jezebel. I like everybody.
She said, I like
I like everybody in the books. In real life, I'm too self. I'm to myself.
everybody. Yeah.
But she got everybody in a chokehold right now. She got the girls are it's a whole mess.
I'm gonna
That
have to
a
look
good
her up.
mess. However, she was shopping
Mm-hmm.
that particular series that she got everybody in the uproar over
Mm-hmm.
to publishers and they didn't want it. What are your thoughts on when you notice this is a good book and the publishers
Mm-hmm.
don't want it? What are your thoughts about that?
Do it yourself and show them, like show and prove that you have something with this book. Like I don't like saying I told you so. I'm a Leo, but I like showing that I told you so. So do it yourself. It is probably more work, but it's more rewarding when you do it yourself. And like my motto for 2025 is to do it scared. Whatever I do with my business, I'm doing it scared. Sitting here talking to you, like luckily your energy is keeping me at bay because you saw my first live. I was like, I'm getting off in 30 minutes. Like, I'm out of here. I was ready to go.
It helps when
I was ready
somebody's
to go.
with you.
Yeah. So just do it scared. Um, and just make sure you build that platform for yourself. So you have to be well, I'm an introvert in real life, but for social media and my business, I kind of come out, I kind of pop out. But you have to build your own platform. You have to get that emailing list together to do the email. You have to do all the work yourself. You have to be on Instagram. You have to be on Facebook. You need to be on Book Talk. So you have to do all the legwork. Do it yourself.
And
Because
that's
I
one thing we were talking about. She said that she had did for both Capone and Capadonna. She had shopped it, not the whole
Mhm,
book, but she had wrote out the points. Or I don't, girl, don't ask me because I don't know nothing about it.
mhm.
But she said she sent it to editors and she got nothing but rejections. And her husband told her, "Well, if they don't want it, you do it for yourself." And
So
I'm like thinking, I know these not editors, these publishers is kicking themselves in the ass. I
yes,
know they kicking themselves in the ass because she's like 1, 2, and 3 on
yes,
Amazon.
yes, yes. Like just do it yourself. I know a very famous author that she's with a publishing company, one of the big ones too. And one of her series, she did the same thing. Like, well, I'll just stick to traditional publishing. They didn't like that book. She about to be on book 6 on her own, doing it big because they want to play them games. And she's like, I'll do it myself. And she's been successful. She's been very successful. So sometimes that's the universe way of telling you certain things. Like rejection isn't always a bad thing. And I try to tell people that, like, that's not always a bad thing. I get rejected all the time. It may be an author that I've had a consultation with, did a sample edit for, and they maybe didn't like the way I did it, or maybe my rates are too high and they go with somebody else. That was their decision. That doesn't, I mean, I don't take rejection to heart. I just keep it moving.
Is there a way that you help struggling authors, independent authors?
As
Is
far
there like a payment structure that they can, like a payment plan or?
Yeah,
Okay.
so I always tell people if an editor is requesting, let's say, so for I'm just gonna throw it out there, my full edit package for words 70K, cap off at 70K words, that package starts at $2,000. I break up those payments into 3 and 4 payments. It's been times where an author was late. I could have threw that late fee on per the contract, but I'm like, you know what? No, because maybe they were having some type of financial. If they're transparent enough, and I feel like okay, no, they were really struggling. I knock that fee off. Let's add on the extra payment. But I never expect anybody to just come out of pocket here's $2,000, Chloe. Like I don't. That's a red flag. That's a red flag. Yep. So I try to break it up. I do at least 3 payments, at least. And if we got to go to 4 and 5, that's fine. Yep.
Okay. I think that's fair
Yeah.
because you're still getting your worth, but you're still helping them out in the process that they don't have to come up with this big, large sum initially.
Mm-hmm.
And see, I'm listen. If I was an author, and maybe one day it may happen, I don't know. Um, I would probably just pay it because that's me.
I have people that pay outright. Like they'll just like if they want to. Because for me, so to even get on my calendar, there's a deposit you have to pay. Within
Right.
3 days of me sending you the contract and the invoice, you have to pay it, or somebody else can take that spot. But I've had people pay it in full. Like I just want to get this out the way now, but I'll still start 2 months from now. But we're under a contract and an NDA, so everybody is protected, so they feel comfortable with doing that.
Right.
But
Right.
some people need the payment plans, and I'm okay with that. Like it's only fair.
Okay. So y'all understand the payment plan.
There's
That there's payment plan.
a
Y'all
payment plan.
understand what the types of editors that they are. Y'all understand the detriment of self editing.
Mhm.
What other advice would you give authors?
Um, when you're writing, make sure that you are showing and not telling. So you want to put the readers in that scene by using your 5 senses. I tell people all the time to use what's around you. Like, and if you can't use what's around you, if you have a setting that's in, let's say, Jamaica, Google Jamaica. Look at some YouTube videos of Jamaica and get ideas from what you're seeing on the internet and put that scene in that damn book. But make sure you show what the character is doing, opposed to saying she was anxious. Well, what was her body language like? Like, show me
Mm-hmm.
her being anxious. Don't just tell me that.
Like, give an example.
Because anxiety looks different on different people. I know it looks different on me. I'm stuttering and I'm doing this, but for somebody else, they may be quiet.
So that's what you're saying. Saying even though saying that she was anxious, she became quiet. In the water as he's frolicking. So that's what you're saying. That's showing you
Yep. But
that she's
and you can
anxious.
even take out the she became anxious and just leave the she became quiet, because that's telling you that something is going on there. Like leave that to the readers to try to break away, tear away. I can't find my words. Leave that for their interpretation. Like what emotion she's going through, but don't just tell me, child, she was anxious. Oh well, I'm anxious too.